Today we're making a super fancy animated subscribe button in Fusion. There are so many amazing techniques here, and I know you're gonna learn a lot. Let's jump in. So here we are in DaVinci Resolve in the Fusion page, and I just have a new Fusion composition open, and let's go over to Workspace and just turn off our show page navigation to give us a little bit of room down here. So I want this to be on a white background. So I have a background just connected to my media out. You can do that just by dragging a background and, plugging it into media out like that. But I want this to be a white background. And so we can take this color and just kind of push it towards almost white, something like that. And I actually like to use something like a four corner or even a gradient. I even like to just make this, not quite white and white. Let's just move this little gradient around just so we have a little bit of difference in the background, just not pure white. We'll label this white BG. All right, so we're going to be making this sub button, and the core of this is going to be just one mask. We're just going to use a rectangle mask here. I'll just grab this and let's just kind of size this to be the appropriate size, maybe something like that. And then let's take up the corner radius a little bit. So just round the corners a touch. So now we have this rounded rectangle here. And if I hit 1 on the keyboard, we can bring this up on the left and just look at the mask. But we're going to apply this mask to a background. So in the far left, let's grab this background and we're going to make this kind of a red. Just push up the red slider here. And then I'll take the output of the background and drag it over the output of my white background like this. And that'll make a merge. And I'll apply the rectangle to the mask input of our background 1. And now we have this red rectangle. Let's rename this red BG. And this rectangle, we'll call this main button shape mask. Okay, this is going to act as kind of the top part of our button. You can think of like a 3D button that's sitting on its side. This is the top face. And if this were sitting on like a floor, we could see the front edge of this. And so we're going to make a front edge, and let's just take this white background this way and make another background here. And we're going to make this almost this red color. You can take this and just pick the red. We'll just take the red down a little bit and maybe just add maybe a little blue, something like that, and give this kind of a darker red color. And we'll call this dark color underscore BG for background, and we'll merge this over our white background like this. And now we can take this same mask and mask that background as well. Of course, it's directly behind our bright red, and so we should do something about that. Let's just go ahead and grab a transform, and we'll just drag this in between like this. We'll run this through a transform first. We can use this transform just to bring this mask down, and look what we got going on here. You see what we're doing? You see what's going on?
Say, would you look at this?
This looks kind of like 3D, and all we did was 2 little things. So easy. In fact, we'll push this down a little more. Yeah, that feels nice. And this is going to be the main structure of our button. Let's add the text that goes on the top of the button. This third icon over here is our text plus. Let's take that, drag the output of that over the output of my merge 1 like this. And that's going to add the text on top, but we don't have any text yet. So let's just say subscribe. Okay, for font, let's go to Arial, because I believe that's what they use. And Arial Bold seems pretty good. One thing I want is a little YouTube icon here, and we can import that as an SVG. I'll just go up to Fusion, import SVG, and I have a YouTube icon SVG. You can get this all kinds of places on the internet. I'll hit open, and it will ask me the width and the height that I want to import this SVG as, because it's going to rasterize it. We'll just leave it at this and hit OK. And now it'll make this little group over here. Just bring this over and merge it over everything, and it comes in pretty big. So let's again get a transform node. I can just click this with that group selected, and then we can take the size down like this. I think I want this icon to be white instead of red. So I can fix this a bunch of different ways, but one way is just double click on this group, and that will open up all of the backgrounds that it's using. It's using a combination of backgrounds and masks, and this background too is red. If I just click off of this and click back on, we can just make this white, easy peasy, and then just close this group like that. Okay, I'll take this transform node. Let's just zoom this out a little bit, and we'll just push this over here to the side, and let's kind of adjust this text and this icon to be about right, something like that. Yeah, it looks nice. So now we have this little subscribe button going on, and we have most of what we need built here. It's just going to be a matter of tweaking things and animating things and stuff from now on. So if this is all you need, you're done. Isn't that nice? But what I actually want to do is kind of group this red shape, this white icon, and this text all together. So a way that you can do that in Fusion is you can bring multiple things into their own merge. And here's kind of a quick way to do that. Just select all of the things that you want to group together and find the first merge here. That's this one. Just click this and hit backspace. And then instead of this merge going into this one, we'll take this red background and plug it right into the background here of merge 3. And now we should have everything without the background. Take this background here, and we'll just take all of this and drag it over that merge like that, and then plug that into media out. So what we're really doing is kind of merging everything together in one group first, and then we're putting it on top of our dark color and our white background, and the result is this. So what's nice about this is I can easily turn this off or on or blend it using the merge all as one thing. So if you've used After Effects, it's sort of like pre-comping it or grouping it. That's a great way to just kind of get everything to act as one. And what's nice is I can take this and put a transform node before this merge, and I can move it all around as one, right? But I still have all of these individual nodes that I can play with really easily. By the way, if you're just getting into Fusion, make sure to check out our free workshop, the 9 nodes you need to make almost anything in Fusion. If you're a little bit overwhelmed by how much stuff there is here, this is going to simplify so much stuff. There's also a link in the description, okay? Check it out. It's my gift to you. So I could take this transform here, and we'll just call this button animation transform. And at frame 0, we can have this start like this, and I'll just keyframe the center just by clicking this little diamond. And then at frame 12, let's say, we can push this down like this, and it looks like the button squishes, right? So here we go, shloop, looks like the button squishes down. Oh, it's so easy. I love that. Just such a cool effect that's so simple. After that, we can have it come back up. Let's have it come back up a little faster, maybe up to 18. Take this back to 0.5, and now it's back to where it was, right? So shloop, yes. Now let's adjust that animation. I can select this animated transform and go into something like the spline panel, and we'll just check displacement here. And here we have a graph of how fast this is going. I can select any of these keyframes and hit F on the keyboard to flatten them out. Let's just flatten all of these out. Sure. See what that looks like. Yes, looks nice. Bloop. And if that's all you want, again, I mean, you could stop here. That looks super clean. But let's get let's take this up. Let's take this up a notch. First thing is when this goes down, let's have the text change. So at frame 12, let's keyframe this text. We'll just keyframe it right here. And once this is down, let's go 1 frame to the right. I'll just hit right bracket on the keyboard. That's the one right by the backspace. We'll go to frame 13, and then we'll just change this text to say subscribed. Nice. We could also keyframe the size just to make this work a little better. So I'll keyframe the size. I'll hit left bracket to go here, go to our first keyframe and set that. Then I can hit right bracket or click this right button to go to that last keyframe. Let's take this size down just a touch, just so it looks good still. Subscribed and subscribed. Yes, that works. Nice and subtle. Still looks nice. So now when we play this back, it turns to subscribed when it gets punched down. Cool. And let's actually have this change color when this squishes down. And we could do that a bunch of different ways. I think what I'll do though is just add a little brightness contrast here because we have the saturation. I can just take the saturation down for this. And here's a little trick. If you want an effect to just start or end at a certain place, you can open up the keyframes panel here and you can just trim this effect to start right there at frame 12. And guess what? Boom. It's sort of like an adjustment clip. Starts right there. That works super easy. Let's do a similar thing for our brightness and contrast here. Let's make sure we pre-divide, post-multiply. And this time I'll just copy this and then paste it here under our dark color background, and that will work just fine. And here before frame 12, it's red, and then at frame 12, it turns gray. So this pushes down, turns into a gray button. Yes. So sweet. So that's looking sweet. Now let's have this do something fancier when this gets pushed down and turns to subscribed. First of all, let's actually have this start at frame 13 so that it turns gray right when subscribed happens like that. But then let's have this kind of flash some color too. Let's make a new background, and this background I'll bring up here on the left. Let's make this like a 4-corner, and let's just pick some wild colors here. Green, yellow, blue, like that. So kind of like a rainbow color. Actually, let's take away the red. Let's do like cyan here. So now we have this kind of bright, cool rainbow. We'll call this rainbow BG. Let's go ahead and merge this over our button before we animate it and everything, over just the top of our button like this, okay? And we could even use this same shape to limit it, that, and now we have our button all kind of rainbowy. And then we could limit that with a mask, something maybe like a rectangle mask. We could just plug this into the merge, that would work. And look at this, now we have a little stripe here that changes color from left to right, but now we aren't really seeing the edges of our rainbow background, right? Because we have all the fancy edges right here. Wouldn't it be great if they were sort of in the middle? Well, if we didn't have any masks on this, we could just kind of size this to be the right size for our button, and that might be a little bit nicer. And then we could actually just take this shape and plug it into our merge. And now we have those colors a little bit more pronounced, right? Because we're sizing this where we can see the actual edges a little more. We also want to limit this with a little stripe thing. And so instead of plugging this right into the merge, let's plug this into our rectangle mask and plug the rectangle mask into the merge. And we can set this rectangle mask to do something like subtract inverted. And now it's just going to show where these two intersect, and we could play around with this. And now we have this line that changes color as it sweeps across. That's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
Okay, I can push this soft edge up to give this like a little bit more softness. Ooh, look at that. That's fancy. And now we're gonna do something that I think is a really cool little trick. I want to animate this kind of sweeping across, but I want to repeat it and have it sweep across a bunch of times, right? So maybe here, starting at frame 13, we'll start here, and I'll keyframe my center for my mask. And then, I don't know, a few frames later, we'll have this sweep all the way across like that. So now as we play this back, it sweeps across. But let's have this repeat. We can go into the spline panel, like this, open this up. I can hold Control and zoom out a little bit, select both of these keyframes, right click with them selected, and I can go up to Set Loop and set this to loop. And look what happens. This will actually repeat this forever, these two keyframes, without me having to loop it myself or do anything crazy. And now it will just kind of keep going. So then I could do something like just fade this out in this merge. So right as this happens, we'll just keyframe this blend. So with that merge selected, I can just animate the blend, which is sort of like the transparency. We'll just have this fade out to frame 50 or so, something like that. Now, bloop, cool. Yeah, that looks nice. And in the spline panel here, let's just flatten out this last keyframe of our blend, just to give that a little more gradual fade. And I think I want to do one last thing on this, is I want to add a little ridge here, just a little kind of highlight on the edge of this button. I think that always looks really nice. Kind of bring this up so we have a little bit of room here. Just organize this a touch. I'll hold down Alt and make a little elbow here. I think what we'll do is let's just take all of these nodes and just move them to the right a little bit. Let's put another brightness and contrast here like this. We'll call this Edge HL for highlight. And we'll use this same mask again, but we're going to limit it with another mask, just like this, rectangle, and we'll just squeeze this down so we can see what's happening here. And in this edge highlight, let's push up the brightness maybe a little bit, push up the gain. Yeah, let's just push up the gain, take down the saturation a touch, push up that gain. And by default, it's taking these masks and adding them together. But if I select rectangle 2 and go here to paint mode and switch that to subtract, then it takes that second mask away from the first one. It also invert that, and it's just inside of the second mask where they converge. And let's just make a little edge like this, and maybe push up this corner radius a little bit, just widen that out, bring this down like this, and give it a soft edge. So now we have just a little highlight on the edge there. So here's before and here's after. Oh, and I feel like that just makes it look poppy, and it gets really intense when it turns gray. So we can keyframe that as well. Probably just go over to the settings and keyframe the blend. So we can just turn this down overall, make that tasteful, something like that. So now, bloop, get this nice little animation. Oh, that's so cool. Yes. So there we go. There's a fancy subscribe button. Pretty cool, right? If you're new here, my name's Casey. I help people learn how to make amazing motion graphics and visual effects in Fusion. And make sure you don't miss our free workshop, the 9 nodes that you need to make almost anything in Fusion. It's totally free, and it will simplify all the things you think you need to learn to make awesome stuff in the Fusion page of DaVinci Resolve. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope that you have a great day. And I don't know, maybe check out this video if you want some more. That's a good one. Right there.